Buonanotte, everybody. Welcome back to Calcio Culture. These days, we are flying high. I think everybody's in a good mood. As we're checking in here, it is Tuesday, November 26th. We got a lot of soccer this weekend, a lot of soccer this week. But as always, you got one of your hosts here, Vos, and I'm joined by both my co-hosts. We got Logs and Motts on the horn. Been a couple of weeks for Motts, but Motts, how are you doing, buddy?
We are back. We're doing great. We cut a lot of. I've been very busy. Cut my hair. We are back to the short hair since I've last got on here. I had long hair. I still had the man bun. That's gone. And I wanted to let the paisanos know I've been doing a lot of Black Friday shopping pre-Black Friday, so we're feeling good. We're getting a new wardrobe. You can't save money without spending money, and so we've been saving money.
By spending money?
Yeah, well, you want a shirt, and that shirt is pre-Black Friday is $40, and then it's 40% off. You have now saved the 40% off by spending it when it's cheaper.
I think what Motts is trying to say is you got to spend money to make money. That's the goal here, Paisans.
And spend money to save money.
Good to be back with both hosts here. We got a great episode ready for you. Ton of footy, and a ton of great news if you're about that life.
Yeah, a ton of great news. But to bring you through what we're doing today, guys, we're talking match week number 13, which happened this past weekend. We got some European competitions, some Champions League games happened today. So we're going to be talking about those. We're going to be talking about Europa League, Conference League, and then we're going to round it out talking about match week number 14, which is this coming weekend. But before all that, Lowe's has to lead us off with quick shouts. But before we even get into quick shots, there's a massive announcement I have to make. And that's that we've hit a Colpi di Luna. We have officially hit
Luna, don't turn alone. We need the Paisans money.
Yeah, I was sweating it out today. I thought Lowe's legs was something else. So, I mean, both legs would have hit, to be fair. But we hit plus 599. Took us 13 match weeks. So I think this is a little bit of a snowball thing. We'll hit one, and then we're going to start hitting them more consistently.
We're hot.
We have to get the monkey off.
Don't let the boys get hot.
Don't let them get hot. Yeah,
listen. If you think about it, with using the Calcio Serie A logic, the season didn't start till the 10th game. So it only took us 3 games to hit a Colpi, right? So now things are going to go back to normal. It's getting more predictable, and it took us 3 games.
We out here now.
Yeah.
Don't let us get hot. Don't let us get hot. I was
getting
pumped for today.
I think it is getting a little bit easier. I have to say, the match week 10 thing does have a little bit of pull now. Because I looked at making my Colpi pick this week, and there's a lot that I felt good about. And it was just kind of picking one that I felt good about. I hit a lot of Serie A bets this weekend, I will say. I hit all 5.
Didn't share a single one of them.
I could tell you who didn't, and I missed last episode, and I just want to give Vos a nice little shout out. He did let everybody know that I was going to put $100 on Juventus like I always do. Obviously, I did it again. Obviously, they tied and lost it all. So we're going to try to no longer do the $100 bets because they are hurting the old wallet.
Well, that was our first big announcement, and now we got actual quick shouts, which is Lowe's department.
Paisans, a couple of quick shouts for you. Very short segment this week, but we have a couple of quick hits. Number 1, to the team that I am a season ticket holder of. And unfortunately, the season's over. We could not be Atalanta. Not Atalanta. I'm a full Paisan these days. Atalanta.
Atalanta?
To Atalanta, yeah, in Bergamo.
Yeah? Since when?
Yeah, love it. I love Bergamo. But no, Inter Miami didn't really sack. I guess they came to a mutual conclusion that Tata Martinez was not going to be the coach next year. So they went with the obvious answer in bringing in the next stalwart of Barcelona B team. Javier Mascherano will be taking the helm of Inter Miami next year. Obviously a Barcelona legend, another Argentinian legend, just for Lionel Messi to have a little retirement party for himself down in Miami. That will be interesting to me.
Yeah, when you said they decided, you mean like Jordi Alba, Messi, Suarez, Busquets got in a room and decided to fire the coach and hire the new Not like the front office or anything like that, right?
No, literally, it was probably just Messi just telling. He was just like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna probably tell everyone to fire this guy." And Jordi Alba was like, "Yeah, dude, whatever you want." And then the surgery was scheduled. Was like, "Yeah, dude, come on, it's fine." So Tata out, Javier Mascherano in. Very interesting for the MLS next year. Hopefully, what do they call him? It's not the President's Trophy. They call him something out there. In any case, hopefully they fucking win next year. They had the most points of the season, a record. They beat New England Revolution. Hopefully next year they actually win the championship. Moving on. Another legend not in the making. He's already a legend. Foregone conclusion.
Obviously.
Not even debate. Del Piero is the new president for the Italian Football Federation, or the equivalent of the FIGC.
No. Terrible quick shout.
No.
He's not the new president. He is considering being a candidate to then be voted on to get elected.
I'm just saying, I did not read the notes for the quick shouts today. This was not mine. He is in the running. He's a candidate for the running for the president of the FIGC. Apologies, paisans. I'm not here trying to spread fake news, but Del Piero confirmed a legend, not confirmed the president of the Italian Football Club just yet.
That was terrible. I don't think you should ever be allowed to introduce Del Piero on the show again. He's obviously a legend. He's very.
Forget that I've met him before. So we're kind of boys. Really? I did. I was Zoom. Del Piero.
It was a Zoom where Del Piero couldn't see anybody that was in. There's 3,000 people there.
Who was to say?
Never met her. You're on a Zoom with her one time.
It's still my point.
I'm gonna re-emphasize what Motts said there. That entire delivery by you was terrible from start to finish. I can't believe you just questioned whether or not Del Piero is a legend.
Yeah, that's on me. It was a bad presentation.
He would present, and just in terms of like him in this position, he is just a legend in and of himself. Everywhere he goes, he wins. Everywhere he's been, he's won. Right, World Cup, Champions League, Scudetto. So I do think that he would be good for this position. Any type of more modern approach to Italian international soccer and just all of Calcio is beneficial. And I think Del Piero will bring that. So hopefully he does win this and becomes that. But we'll see what happens.
The other thing I like about this is Del Piero is really involved with the media. Like he's on CBS. I'm assuming he's on other stations around the world. But he's really plugged in to what modernizing the game is about. In Italy as a whole has been largely behind the curve on that. So I think he is going to bring some more, maybe modernism to how they want to play, but also modernism to how they're going to spread Calcio across the globe, which is what we're all here for.
And even when it comes to youth development and maybe getting more of those 17, 18-year-olders in Serie A rather than having them play in Serie B and Serie C. So I agree with you both. I think he would do wonders for Calcio in terms of growing it in different nations, in terms of growing it for younger players, and just everything in between.
Hopefully he gets appointed. Hopefully he gets officially voted in. As I kind of a little foreshadowing by me there.
Logan's calling a shot.
I am calling my shot. A little Colby action. Bet on that. What's the odds? Plus 200? The bound. Moving. Little fun fact for you guys today for our last official quick shout before the finale. Christian Pulisic, the hottest man alive on the face of this planet, has officially solidified himself as a higher goal scorer than a questionable legend, not a full legend, but Eden Hazard has not scored more UCL goals than Christian Pulisic to this point. Christian with 11, Eden with 10. Now, when you think about Christian Pulisic, the thing that I want to say here is you do not put him in the same conversation as Hazard. Not in one bit. But he has now outscored him. He's probably got at least 5 more years. We'll call it 3 more seasons in UCL, depending on how AC does this season. I mean, that's pretty big numbers, especially for an American. I mean, you'll love to see that.
I don't want to caveat it with for an American anymore. Like, Americans play for massive clubs now. It's just, are you good or are you not good at this point? And this is kind of a funny stat. I don't know. This is the stat he scored more than Eden Hazard. But what I will caveat this with is Eden Hazard did not play a lot of games, like in his career, period.
I was going to say that.
I don't know the numbers behind this, but I'm assuming he did not play all that many Champions League games. He very rarely played for a long time in terms of like playing full seasons. So I don't really know where this falls on. This is really like Pulisic, hang your hat on. Good for him.
For him, 11 goals, that's good, right? But I was going to echo what Lo said. Hazard is an enigma in that he was one of the best players we were watching when we were growing up. But like, if you look at his stats, they're actually not that good. They're like pretty mediocre. They're obviously good, but they're not like what you would expect a guy like Hazard's to be. So I don't think it's that crazy that he's passing it. It's great that he's got 11. He's going to get more. Very good. But Hazard just like for some reason he like doesn't have those stats, but he's won everything. So good for Christian. I hope he scores more. But Hazard's nothing impressive in terms of like the statistics because they're not really there. But I'm assuming more to come for Christian. I would say even more than 5 years, Logs. I don't know, how old is he?
He's 26 now.
Yeah, so he's got at least 6.
Yeah,
he's got at least a couple of years. So shout out to him. Love that from an AC Milan player. It's a little bright spot that we have this season. Unfortunately, we'll get into that. But into the last quick shout, and this should be the longest shout you guys have probably ever heard. Shout out to our own Calcio Motts. Putting in that weekend work, he went out there, marketed the pod. He was at IFTV's event at the soccer t-shirt shop in the Lower East Side for their watch along for Juve, AC Milan. He spoke to a couple of the IFTV guys. Great pod. He got interviewed by a couple of newspaper writers. So, Motts, great job. Way to market. How was that event?
Appreciate the shout out, Logs. But yes, it was a fun event. I got there. I saw IFTV was promoting it, and the store is called Classic Football Shirts or something like that. And I saw that they were marketing it for a watch along of Juve Milan. I was like, yeah, I can go to that. It's pretty close to my apartment. I live in the city. Why not? The doors open at 11. I'm a grinder. Showed up 10:30 in the morning. First one there, sitting out there, looking through the windows. It was a pretty packed house inside already. And by the time 11 rolled around, there was probably 10 people that were outside waiting before the doors opened with me. And then the doors opened at 11. I walked right in. IFTV was doing a promotion where if you walked up to Mike, who's on their show, and you said the word or the name Cassano to him, you would get a free jersey from IFTV. I walked right up to him. I said, Cassano. He said, oh, wow, you get the jersey. I said, hey, man, you can give the jersey to somebody else. You can give the jersey to somebody else. All I want is for you guys to shout out Calcio Culture on your podcast because I know you guys have a lot of listeners. He did do that. Unfortunately, we did not get a tag, but he did shout me out. He did say my name with an accent. He said, Marino, which I thought was kind of funny. But he did give Calcio Culture a shout out, which we do appreciate. He also, nicely enough, said, I'll still give you the jersey and give you the shout out. So I am getting that as well. And then
what jersey are you getting?
It's like their IFTV jersey.
Oh, those are kind of cheap.
Those are sick, by the way.
Yeah, it's like the white one. And so then after that, it was obviously an hour and a half to kill until the game. So I was looking around at the jerseys. They had really sick jerseys. They had classic jerseys. They had Serie A jerseys. They had Premier League jerseys. They had international jerseys, goalie jerseys. They had jackets. They had really anything you wanted. And then there was FIFA there. I almost played FIFA, but I was like, nah, let me mingle with people. And then there was a TV to watch the game, and there was food. It was just an all-in-all pretty good event. I think it could have been done a little bit better. They had giveaways and stuff, but it was a good event overall. And I was sitting, kind of just standing there on my own after I was done mingling and promoting Calcio Culture to everybody. And some Serie A worker just came up to me and was like, hey, man, can I interview you? And I was like, yeah, feel free. And so my interview ended up on Destination Calcio is the website. just kind of told them that I've been a Juve fan for however long, since 2010, promoted Calcio Culture, and that I think Serie A is the best league in the world and all that stuff. And it was good. There's the president of the Serie A in North America was there. I met him, talked to him for a little bit. So it was just a cool event. I got my name out there, got the Calcio Culture name out there. We appreciate IFTV giving us a shout out. It was all in all a success, and I'll probably stop in every now and then to that store just to try to continue to promote Calcio Culture and do watch-alongs and things like that.
Motts, you're a great spokesman for the pod and for Serie. Hopefully we can get some steam out of this, because it was very nice that they did shout us out and that they shouted us out in the article. I was a little bit surprised, which is nice. So good work.
Yeah, I wish I could post the article somewhere. It's not like they didn't post it on LinkedIn on Instagram. You have to go to the website to then post it, so it just wouldn't make sense. But in terms of the YouTube shout out, I mean, they shouted us out at the end of their podcast, which at least they gave us a shout out. And I know that we've gotten, I think, 7 subscribers so far from it. So, I mean, it's pretty good considering I think that's the most we've ever gotten in like an hour, 2-hour span. So hopefully more to come. But Calcio Culture is getting out there. We're doing what we can on our end to promote us, grow our community. And that was a fun event that I was able to kind of represent and get the name out there.
Sweet. Well done, Motts. Really good job. And with that, we're going to take a quick break, guys, and then we're going to get into match week 13. All right, guys, we're back from the break to talk match week 13. And I have to say, this was the first match week where it was a little bit more business as usual for most of the Serie A teams. I think there weren't, were there any really surprising results? I'd probably say no.
Lecce
a little bit, yeah.
A little, not a ton.
Yeah, I was wrong.
Apparently it wasn't surprising because I got
Yeah,
the
but
note, so.
the alleged game of the weekend, we'll have to talk about that first. Juventus at Milan. On paper, this was going to be a heavyweight bout. It did not turn into that. This was 0-0 in worst game of the season, I would say, so far, period. This was a very bad game. It was difficult to watch. There was probably nothing enjoyable about it. I found nothing enjoyable about it.
This type of game, me and Logs watched the second half together. I watched the first half with one of my roommates who likes soccer, doesn't love it. We'll watch it when I'm there. And then 2 of my other friends, same thing. This type of game to make them never want to do that, never want to watch a game again.
100%.
Especially when you hear the name Juventus and Milan in there. That's not a game that you want like a lower or a new level soccer fan to start off on, because they're just going to get a bad taste in the mouth and be like, I fucking hate those 2 teams because it was terrible.
I said this to Paolo yesterday in my office. Shout out Paolo, also an AC Milan fan, straight out of Italy. This is like your flagship game for Serie A to try to grow the game globally, and for that to be the output is absolutely devastating. Not only from a fan standpoint, but if from our standpoint of trying to grow the game of Calcio, absolutely devastating to have that be the product.
What I will say is, I said this was going to happen on the last episode. I did say this was going to happen.
I'm pretty sure the last time these 2 teams played, it was the same exact terrible game, and Locatelli scored from like 30 yards out because it got deflected from a Milan player. So this is like the second or third game in a row where it's just been 0-0 Milan Juventus, just terrible games.
Yeah, terrible games, but I do think that it's worth talking about, and I think this is going to be more talking about the managers rather than what has occurred on the pitch, because 0.71 XG combined. XG is very bad. Obviously a really boring game. But to start with, and I was very upset when I saw this quote from Fonseca, and saying that he was surprised that people were upset about the draw, and then went on to say this was the most boring game that he's been a part of, this, that, the other thing. For me,
just as a crazy statement. Let's not just brush
crazy statement. Yeah,
right.
you need to be a little bit more vocal about that, because that's an absolutely insane statement.
You have control of your not full control, but you can tell your players how you want them to go play this game. And if in the first half you're like, wow, that was really boring. Hey, I don't know. Why don't you light a fire on their asses? Maybe make some subs, go more attacking, and try to score a goal.
Yeah, but
He didn't do that at all.
This is the exact point that I want to make in this. In that when he says, "Oh, I'm surprised that people are upset that we drew this game," his plan was to draw this game and maybe score a goal. This was the best defensive performance I've seen from Milan this year by a lot, and they did nothing offensively. And we had talked about it, Logs. We thought this would be a game where we saw Milan's true identity, and I think we saw it today. This weekend, it was defend and then hopefully score on the counter. They didn't score on the counter, but they defended well, and they were fine with Juventus having the ball. So my question to you is the Milan board getting exactly what they have signed up for with Fonseca? Because I said this at the beginning of the year. This is a guy, when he was at Roma, was okay not winning the big games. And I could be wrong, but the way I see this now is the board is getting what they wanted, and they're going to try to make a Champions League run, and the league is second to that. Even Fonseca has kind of said that and saying we're more of a tournament team than a league team, which again is insane to me. Because if you're Milan, your goal every single year is winning the Scudetto and then winning a European competition and winning the Coppa Italia. Like, you are a big enough club where day one every year, that is what you should be shooting for. I think Motts thinks that at Juventus every year.
I mean, this whole thing is just, it's frustrating. It's confusing because, I mean, it's kind of like you say, but at the same time, okay, so they're not willing to go after it and win the big games in Serie A. So they're playing for a draw against Juve at home, which we said it last week. Like, for AC, that needs to be a win. You're at home. Doesn't matter who you're playing. If you're AC Milan in Serie A, you're at home. You should be playing to win that game, right? But then this motherfucker comes out and says, okay, Real Madrid is not as good as Cagliari. So to me, that shows to me that when he's playing in the Champions League, he almost feels like he has nothing to lose, right? He's going to win those games. Like, he feels like he can win those games, and he's getting after it, which he did exactly that. Like, he can win the big games, apparently, because he beat the best team in the world, Real Madrid, at their home, 3-1. So what are you doing putzing around in Serie A?
Yeah, but
and
that goes
for a 0-0 draw against Juve, playing 3-3 draw against Cagliari, and coming out and saying that Real Madrid's not that good and Cagliari is a harder game. So I don't understand what your tactic or what your approach to the regular season games are.
I agree with you that I don't understand his approach either, but the reason why he had success against Madrid is because against Madrid, you can play the way that Bo says that he wants to play, or that he's setting his team up, and sit back and counter. Or against Cagliari, when they're going to have 10 men behind the ball, you can't really do that. Now, why it didn't work against Juventus, I don't know. Juventus has a strong defense, but they did what they did against Madrid, sit back and try to counter. But my thing is you have to have a plan B or a plan C when plan A is not necessarily getting it done, which he has shown in 13 games. He's got no plan B or C, and the plan A switches every single game to the point where the players don't always know what exactly the plan A is. So he's just not organized at all.
But I think the difference in the way that you're looking at it, plan A for him, this is what I think plan A is. Plan A is win or draw. So that's why we don't see the change. Like, there was no change in this game because I honestly think this was the best defensive performance of the season so far. I thought everybody was good enough and did enough to get a tie, but
sure,
he was okay with this. I think this was like that quote. I was surprised people were upset with the draw. Says that you went into this game okay with the draw. Like that was an objective that you had on the board.
Which I don't think, like, yes, sure, Milan had a great defensive game. Juventus had no strikers. They were playing 6 guys in the midfield and 4 defenders. Like, there was nobody up top, so it wasn't that hard to stop them. Also, you got to remember, Juventus had, 15 players in this game? So I'm sure Mata was like, hey, we're in the San Siro. We're very banged up. We have no strikers. Let's get a tie. Like, Mata should have been like, we want the tie. Fonseca was like, if Mata's going to play for the tie, let's play for the tie too. They both, I mean, even I've never seen a team in like they had that last chance with Tio's on the header at the 92nd or 93rd. No, none of the teams were going for it at the end. They were both just, we're good with this. But from a Fonseca's play, I don't think that's valid.
Like, to that point, it always brings it more so back to the players. Because, okay, so screw it. Fonseca wants a draw. I wouldn't expect Teo and Leao and, I mean, Pulisic only had 20 minutes in this game, which is also mind-boggling.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, every other player on the field should be in this game thinking, like, we're at home. We need to win this game. I don't give a shit what the manager is saying.
Yeah, but that's not how it works. Like, you have to listen to your manager, or else you don't play.
Not on the field, though. Manager's not on the field. At the end of the day, the manager's not on the field. So I'm not going to take the entire blame and give it to Fonseca, even though as much as I want to. If you are playing this game and you are AC Milan, you need to be wanting to win this game no matter who you are.
Yep. But even how we go back to the Pulisic thing, Pulisic not playing was a tactical adjustment. He wanted to give Yunus Musa played as the right mid in this game, and that was specifically done to give Emerson Royale more coverage. So the plan was very clearly, let's not concede goals. When you take literally maybe the best player in the league off the field, which doesn't make any sense. I understand from the player's perspective.
He also just came off of the international break where he played God knows how many minutes for the U.S., so that's a little bit in question as to what his fitness was like. But I do agree with you. How are you taking the hottest man on the planet off the field against one of the bigger games?
The like other side of the knife of that would be Weston McKennie played just as many minutes for the U.S. national team, and he started and played 75, 80 minutes for Juventus, and he plays in arguably a much tougher, not tougher position, but a much more, you need to run up and down the pitch for both the national team and Juventus, where Pulisic is just, hey, go play offense.
I guess what this is,
you're right.
This is leading me into my next question is, I haven't thought about it because I just have accepted that his job isn't in danger. But I was listening to some other shows today, and they were talking about that, how people had thought that this was maybe a game, if he lost, he would get sacked. And I haven't had that impression in a long time. For what he went through at the beginning of the season, I see this as he is here no matter what till the end of the season. And it's kind of weird because realistically, how Milan have performed this year is bad, right? They're in 7th, but they're kind of in that other group of teams that's kind of out of the mix, out of the hunt for the most part. So do you guys think he is in danger at the helm? And is there a point where we will get there maybe?
I mean, let's not forget, he was maybe 6 minutes away from being sacked. It's not like he wasn't going to get sacked if we didn't get a result out of Inter at home, at the San Siro. So that kind of changed the trajectory a lot.
That's a good point.
Considering the fact that we went from Inter and then into Venezia where we won 4-0. And then we started having results in the Champions League, barring Liverpool, but no one had any expectations against Liverpool. So at the same time, we were still just a couple minutes away from Fonseca playing golf. Right? So I don't think that I've never felt comfortable if I'm Fonseca this entire season. Maybe the most I would have felt comfortable is after Real, but then you follow up Real with the Cagliari game. So it's like, where do you stand? I have no idea. I don't know what the conversations are behind the scenes. I don't know what their board meetings are like. I have no idea what the conversations with Ibra go like. But for me, if I'm Fonseca, no. I'm not comfortable at all in the fact that he came out with this kind of comment from this kind of a caliber of a game. Is just, there's definitely a disconnect in expectations. And I can't imagine that the board of AC Milan is thinking in the same page as, oh, we'll just take a draw at home against Juve.
Yeah, there's definitely, I mean, I think AC Milan is on 3 different pages. The board, Zlatan and the board are on one page. Fonseca's on his own page, and then the players are on their own page as well. No one is on the same page at all. For Fonseca, I think, listen, if it was me, you see what happens when you fire coaches in the middle of the season. Like, Nothing good usually ever comes to it, just usually more chaos. However, when you have a personality like Zlatan in your front office, he's the type of guy where it's just like, I'm going to fire you because I can. And so you're done. And so I think that it can get to that point just because of the front office of Milan. But I wouldn't if I was Milan, but I think that, listen, you guys got to remember too, like, he looked, and I know it was preseason, Milan looked unstoppable in the preseason, scoring 4 goals every single game, not letting up a goal, and then the season hits, and all of a sudden it's way different. So I don't know what the disconnect is. He's not playing the same style at all that he was doing the preseason. He's not every single game. It's a different Milan team, and I think that some of the board members like Zlatan buying Emerson Royale, like, they didn't do a good enough job building up the team. They didn't do a good enough job. I said it from the start, firing Pioli. Fonseca wasn't the answer. So this is kind of what you should be expecting. And then the players don't know what the hell Fonseca wants them to do. So they're all on different pages and they all need to get on the same page. I don't know how that's going to happen. Do I think he can get fired? Yes, because Zlatan. Would I fire him? No.
The other thing I just want to say is, like, the last couple of games, everyone, and I think we even talked about it, but someone on Twitter, I think his name is Matt Santagello, great guy. I love his commentary on Twitter. I love what he said today, and this has more to do with the UCL game today, but this man, Fonseca, needs to stop getting his flowers for benching Leao. Leao is your best fucking player. On paper. I mean, barring Pulisic's performances this season, Leao is your best player. Stop giving this guy credit for benching your best player. Because obviously when he comes in and he's motivated and you put him in the right spots, he's going to do well and he's going to produce. So let's stop giving this guy credit for fucking around with the lineup as much as he has and trying to make something that isn't. AC Milan has been successful the last 3 seasons under Pioli by simply putting the players in their best positions. So all you would need, your baseline, is being a manager who knows how to play the best players in their best positions. And you haven't been able to do that. So where is the praise and where is the, Fonseca's doing an okay job coming from? I'm not entirely sure.
I think from the wins that he's delivered and that he beat Inter, that he beat Madrid, and that's it.
I mean, I genuinely think that this is the board. The board wants to win the Champions League and they don't care about anything else. Because at this point in time, Fonseca, I wouldn't say Fonseca's a better coach than Pioli. He's a better tournament coach than Pioli, yes. Because
let me just interrupt real quick.
Apparently,
yes, they beat Madrid, but let's not pretend that before that win of Madrid that they were having a good Champions League. They lost to Leverkusen and lost to Liverpool. That was early. Yeah, that was earlier on in the season, and Fonseca did figure out a few things. But, like, listen, I don't think, they can play their identity that they like in terms of sitting back and countering more in the Champions League because they're going up against maybe better caliber teams. But the Champions League is not a walk in the park. That's not something that they can be like, we're just going to focus on the Champions League and go win that. Like, that's not going to happen.
And we barely made it to the semis under Pioli. We shouldn't even been in the semis from Pioli. We beat Napoli 1-0 on aggregate in the season that they won the Scudetto. So it's like, that's a horrible benchmark if that's what the board's going after.
Yeah, and let's move on to Juve, but one question, yes or no answer. If Milan make it deeper in the Champions League, but finish outside of a European spot in Serie A, does Fonseca get sacked?
Oh, yes. I thought you were like, you keep him.
If we don't make a European spot, no, not even a European spot. I think if we don't make it at least Europa next season, he's out.
I said one word answer because we got to move on.
Yeah.
There's another huge team that played in this game who are kind of in a very similar situation in the Bianconeri, but we are talking about them in a very, very different way. And I think that is warranted. I would struggle to find people that disagree with that. But we do have to look at Thiago Motta a little bit in not being able to correct what has been going wrong. We can continue to point to the defense. Still no losses in the league, which is a major achievement. But it's been so much of this useless possession in defending with the ball, almost like an Italiano team when they're playing poorly, is kind of what I would compare this to, right? They have the ball a lot, but they don't really win. They don't really create. And we can say, oh, Dusan Vlahovic was out, but this was happening when they also had Dusan Vlahovic. So where are you on Motts? Because I would be surprised if you're like, he's hot seat, because I'm certain not. But
he's
there
nowhere near the hot seat.
Need to happen that haven't been made.
Yeah, he's nowhere near the hot seat. He obviously has a specific style. He's very cautious in his approach and is fine with draws. If you go look at Bologna's team last year, they had, oh my goodness, so many draws. At the end of the day, you are getting the point. But I do want to take a step back. And obviously, I listened to the IFTV podcast today, so I'm going to give them a little shout out because they gave us a shout out. And they made a good point.
They need our shout
I don't know if this is necessarily on Mata. It is on Mata because he's got to do more to put the players in the right position to create. A little bit's on Giuntoli because the way he built this team was, hey, let me just go get midfielder after midfielder after midfielder after midfielder and not have another striker in case Dusan goes in those slumps that we know that he goes in on. Or even if Dusan gets injured, like, yeah, we had Milik, but Milik got injured during the Euros. And so you knew that he was going to be injured. And then you went, I was okay with the selling of Moise Kean when it happened because he had such a bad year last year. But you should have gotten a secondary number 9 because you know that Dusan is a very streaky player and can go 7 or 8 games without scoring a goal. And Mata has nothing to turn to besides putting Weah there or put Weston McKennie and Coop Miners there like he did yet on Saturday, which obviously did not work. He could try Yildiz there, but he's very undersized for that and not his position. So he's nothing to turn to. So and then to top that off for this game specifically, he only had, like I mentioned, 14, 15 players. So he fully went into this game like, we can get the draw if we just defend like we have been doing. Let's not step anywhere and leave ourselves open. But there are some games where when you go up against the lower level teams, you got to go get that win. And what they do, which Mata needs to kind of get them away from, is when they're about to start transitioning into their offense, Locatelli or some midfielder is just so okay with stopping the whole transition. And then we go and we just pass it in, like you said, that wasted possession. That is what Mata needs to stop and needs to tell his players, when we're in transition and when we're starting to attack, go. Do not slow down and keep the ball just to keep the ball. So he's not on the hot seat. There's some kinks he needs to work out, like that one. The second one I would say would be, we don't need to possess the ball in our own 18. Sometimes you can just kick it forward to have higher possession. Those are the small kinks, but I think it's a little bit on those and then a little bit on Giuntoli not getting a second striker, which hopefully we get in January. I don't know who that would be. But this was a tougher game because of all the injuries. So he did what he had to do. We haven't lost a game. You see the identity that Mata and Juventus want to play with. You see how it's going to take some time. It's a brand new team like we talked about. You see where it's going, which is why I don't think he's anywhere near the hot seat. And we're also only 4 points off of first.
And to the striker situation too, it is unfortunate that Nico Gonzalez got hurt because I think he probably would have fit that like Xerxes false nine role actually pretty well. And we'll see if they do end up replacing him. And then one other player that I thought was just an interesting point is I think Yildiz showed his immaturity a lot in this game because he's really, really good at beating people one-on-one. But his last decision, whether it be a shot or a cross, just isn't polished yet. And they are relying on him a lot and they give him the ball a lot, but he's not quite there where he's going to, like we saw it in the Inter Milan game where he's capable of, but he's not a Pulisic yet. He's not a Leao yet. He's not a Kvaratskhelia where he needs a high volume of opportunities to convert one. And I think that is just immaturity. And Lugs, you can jump in because I know you had a couple things.
No, just a couple of points. I mean, commenting on our discussion from last week, I didn't see it out of Juve this week that they had the confidence to be like, we're simply just the better team. I mean, clearly that was just by design and how they approach this game. And obviously the injuries are certainly a big part of that. But wish I had seen a little bit more confidence from, just on a player by player basis. Now, before I make the point that I want to make, I'm going to argue it. You put in so much money over the summer. You would like to see your team do a lot better. you would like to see a big improvement. You bring in a huge coaching name like Thiago Motta, and you want to see improvement, which we have. I mean, Motts just said it. They have an identity. It's a very clear identity and a very clear way of playing. It's a very clear style of playing. So what I'm going to say here is we're going to call it exactly a third of the way through the season. If you were to average this out to the end, which obviously they're probably going to get a loss here or there, but they probably should have more wins than they do right now. You're at 75 points and your goal differential is north of 40. Last year, you were at 75. You dropped a bunch of games at the end and your goal differential was 14. So at the end of the day, when you take a step back and you think about where Juve is in the season, this really isn't even in close to dire straits. And especially given the fact that you have teams like Atalanta and Lazio and Fiorentina far outplaying expectations that we had from last season going into this, I have zero problems with Thiago Motta at this point.
I also think Giuntoli and the board have a vision, right? Like, I think everybody at Juventus is on, like, we talk about it, like, perfect example compared to Milan. Like, there's nobody on the same page. Everybody at Juve sees this as a long-term project, I think. That in, like, how they recruited, and clearly Thiago Motta and Giuntoli do have a relationship. When we go back to the Calafiori versus Koop-Miners decision, everybody knows this is a long-term project. And the way things are going, they're going to be back in Europe. I don't know how well they're going to perform in the Champions League this year. I am a little bit worried about them, but that's just more experience for a million young players that they have. They're already plagued by injury now. I think it's safe to say that. They literally lost. Bremer was maybe their best player, was definitely the best defender in the league before he got injured, and that's such a major loss. You literally don't have a striker now. Like, and these are things that if it was a more poorly run club, I would be concerned. But with what we're seeing out of Thiago Motta, what we're seeing out of the board, this is a project that I don't think it's this year where they can compete for the Scudetto. I'm going to say it. They're not going to close the gap, I don't think. But next year, they might win it. Like, that's how big of a jump I think there is going to be by the end of this season.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we all said that going into this season is that there's going to be growing pains, which we're obviously seeing on the pitch. But the fact that they're so good defensively without Bremer, Cabal just tore his ACL as well. But no matter who Motta plugs and plays, they still get clean sheets. They have 10 clean sheets in 13 games. That is insane. So they just need to learn how to kind of attack and score, which will come. And look, to your point, I do agree with the amount of money they spent. You would have liked to see them turn draws into wins, but a lot of that money is currently injured. Douglas Luiz has been injured for the last 3 games. Nico Gonzalez
100%.
has been injured since Leipzig. Obviously, Vlahovic missed last game.
Bremer.
Ball just went down. So we have a ton of injuries all over the pitch. And Motta being in the way that he sets up his team and so secure defensively, he's being able to snag some points in maybe games where, like, we probably should have lost this game with how we had 14 or 15 players and we at away drew 0-0. And then we have the Champions League game tomorrow. So, and we got another 14 guys. So I wouldn't be surprised if we try to draw 0-0 to that game as well, because we just don't have the bodies right now because of the injury. So I think Motta's doing a good job of putting out fires when it's needed, but there's obviously things that he can improve on, which is good, because the worst, not the worst thing in the world, but you don't want him to be, oh my goodness, so good year one, and then from there it's just downhill. You can't repeat that magic.
I think Vogt says that probably the most out of all of us, and it's really true in this situation. You wouldn't want Juve to be ahead of their schedule right now. I think they're pretty on point and even almost behind because of the injuries. So to have them honestly doing any better than right now would be way ahead of schedule. So I think they're in a great spot. And again, like I said, no problems with Motta.
Yeah, before we move on here, because we have a lot of other games, Motts, one question that you wanted to discuss just briefly maybe is Thiago Motta playing too defensively? Because I actually don't think so. I just think
I think we talked about it enough. And I think I kind of answered it when I said it, that he set it up his team this way because of the fact that they only had 14, 15 guys. He knew I have to go get a draw. I just think, like I said, what he does wrong is that when we're about to start transitioning, he's fine with having the team slow it down. And he's also fine with Juventus possessing it so far in their own half when that's not the best area to possess it. Because I thought at the beginning of the game, Milan were doing a great job pressing, and Juventus had to try to get out of their own box, which is like the worst case scenario. So I think he needs to stop that and make them, when they're in transition, to start to drive the ball. No one drives the ball besides the man that you have lower that we're going to talk on just briefly before we move on, and that's Thuram. Thuram won player of the match last game because he would get the ball at our 18, and instead of passing it to the center back, he would turn, beat his man, and drive it to half field and what's it called? Move it forward. So that's what they need to work on. It's just driving the ball, moving it forward, stop passing it back and waiting.
Yeah, I think on Thuram, I do want to talk about him for just a minute because he is like the least sexy player I think that they use in terms of like what his skill set is. Like everybody else, you talk like Beans, Coop Miners, Yildiz, less Toussaint, but Nico Gonzalez and Toussaint are like very pretty players and how they play. Kefren Thuram is a guy that just like does things really well, but not like flashy about it. And I just think it would do a lot more for Juve if he's clearly like chained up in what he's supposed to be doing. He's almost, it's not quite a pivot because when Locatelli is playing, he's like in the middle, kind of as like, he's a regista really by himself. And Thuram is kind of pinned to the left side of the field. Or that's what happened in this game specifically. And it's supposed to kind of cover ground and just take up an area, not really be a progressive outlet or anything. But the couple times where he picked up the ball in transition, he then drives it 40 yards on a dribble because of how big he is. And he can absorb a press and then explode out of it. And they don't really have anybody else that can do that. So I'd like to see that be a progression in how Motts plays. I don't know if we're going to see it. It is very different from a lot of other players that he has and how they have been playing. But that's just something that I had pulled out of this game, and I think we all have seen out of Thuram.
Thuram's a beast. Motts said he's untouchable, so he's going nowhere.
He should play every game. I love him. But keeping it rolling. A lot of other games that happened. This was only one. Claudio Ranieri's Roma made their debut in Naples against Napoli. Went well. 1-0 loss. They probably should have lost by more. Kvaratskhelia missed a sitter in the first minute. Napoli had a lot of chances, and they probably should have scored more. The goal that did come was classic Roma from what we've seen this year. Terrible defending. Angelino, terrible defending. Ndika, horrible defending. And then Mats Hummels literally pulled out of a challenge, basically. He could have stopped across, and I don't know why he did this. He just like pulled this leg away, and Lukaku had a tap in. So for Roma, things were a little bit better, and they didn't get blown out. But I think the issues that were there are still the exact same issues. And it's lack of desire in the defensive third. And then up top, they actually did have their chances. And once again, Dovbyk misses his chance. Baldanzi in this game, who I'm not going to hammer on because he doesn't play every game, missed a really good chance. The Dovbyk one was really bad. He had a free header in the 6-yard box, hit the crossbar. That's unacceptable. So, I mean, I don't think we even need to talk about Roma more, right? Like it was a 4-4-2. That's the new thing. They went to a back four, 4-4-2, 4-4-1-1 kind of thing, but nothing new. And I guess I'm not surprised. I'm really not.
Yeah, to me, it's just as like I've been saying all year with Roma, none of their players look like they give a shit besides Dybala, but now Dybala is like somewhat injured and can't really play that much. And that's kind of been Dybala's MO his whole entire career. So that's like kind of what you knew you were getting when you were getting him, is that he's going to be injured. But you just need where is Pellegrini? Where is Mancini? Where is, in terms of the leadership of the team, where on earth are those guys? I've said it week in and week out. It's a 1-0 game. Like go get that other goal, tie it up 1-1. More of the same for Roma.
I don't have much to say about this game. I mean, I would love to say that I wish I expected more out of Roma, but at the same time, it's kind of a sad situation.
Roma,
actually, it's like I said last week. Go ahead, Motts.
We were dead wrong, all three of us, on Roma.
Unfortunately, I mean, maybe come next season we'll be right. We were a season off.
If they're in the Serie A.
No, I don't see it ever being next year either.
But I don't either. But I was going to say, based on what we spoke about last week, Vos, I think it says more about Napoli. Did they maybe not take this game as seriously as they should have? It wasn't as clinical as you were just saying. So to me, that again, this is going to be my MO going forward on Roma. I don't really care what happens with them. I think it's more of a discussion about the other team, and I don't think Napoli showed their true colors again, coming off of a game that they're coming off of a break that they really should have won, maybe 4-0.
This is going to be the point that I wanted to make. In how we evaluate Napoli games, I think it needs to be a little bit different from these other teams, because Antonio Conte is going to win more games 1-0 or 2-0, where they just get the job done. And because that's how he's okay with that, right? Like, they probably should have scored more, but at the end of the day, they only conceded 2 chances, and that's usually enough to get them across the line. So the more we see these 1-0 wins, 2-0 wins, we could say, oh, they should have won by more. But Antonio Conte doesn't really want to win by more. Like, he'll take it, but he's showing up to win a 1-0 game, right? Like,
I was also surprised that they dominated possession. I think this is the first game in the season Napoli won possession. And I mean, I don't know if that was just because Roma didn't want it, because Napoli let Empoli have more possession. Napoli have let every single team they played have more possession than them, and then for some reason they destroyed Roma on the possession.
Yeah, I don't know. This game, I mean, Vos, I don't disagree with you that Conte has his own style of what he expects game in, game out. But they had 14 shots, right? Like, that's a lot for a Napoli game. It's not like they weren't trying to score more goals.
No, I agree.
They had over 60% possession. I don't think that this was a game where Conte was like, oh, let's just go out and win 1-0. This was certainly a game that they were like, let's go dominate. We're at home.
They did.
Let's come off the break and like,
sometimes you're just not clinical. I mean, dude, 14 shots. Yeah, only 2 were on target, but you had 14 shots to 6, 63% possession to 36, corner kicks 8-2. Like, where did they not dominate besides the final score line? But sometimes the ball doesn't just go in the back of the net.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm going to big argue myself this episode, but I was going to say, all right, well, this isn't going to work against another team, but this is not how they're going to play against a different team. They're going to sit back and just counter like they have another game. So I'm going to shut myself up and move on.
No, I think it is an interesting point, because the difference between this and some other games we saw maybe at the beginning of the year and in preseason is when they did have the ball, they didn't know what to do with it. And in this game, they just gave so much service into Lukaku that it just caused so many issues. And that's kind of what we see with Atalanta, which is with Retegui. Give him the ball, give him the ball, give him the ball, give him the ball. And now he's just scoring 1 million goals because he gets like 100 chances a game. And in this game, they didn't quite convert them. But this shows maybe there's another recipe in how Napoli can get results. I don't know if we're going to
you saying that actually reminded me. I think I saw a stat on Twitter. I forgot the exact number of crosses Napoli had, but I think it was 18 crosses for Napoli and 1 for Roma.
Yeah, they destroyed them.
I mean, what are we talking about here, Roma? You can't get more than 1 cross.
This is what Claudio Ranieri does, though. Like, he wants to be a very counterattacking team. That's what Leicester City was when they won the league. Like, that's true. Why we said he might be a stabilizing the ship kind of guy, because he is not going to try to be expansive. He's not going to try to hold the ball like we saw with De Rossi and Juric. He's just going to sit deep and let's just try to get some results, which is, I think, what they need. But other than that, there isn't too much to talk about here, so we can move it on. Other games that happened: Inter went to Hellas Verona, beat the piss out of them 5-0. At this point, Hellas Verona might be the new punching bag for the season. We said it was kind of Lecce. At times it was Venezia. Might be Verona now. They've been very bad in a lot of games.
Yeah, they've been bad. But this is a classic Inzaghi Calcio that we haven't always seen out of Inter every single week. And how you know that is in the first half alone, 2 of their center backs, De Vrij and Pulisic, scored a goal. They were both striker-esque number 9 goals. De Vrij was like a Lautaro Martinez one-time finish. Pulisic was a fucking insane turn, shield the guy, and then sliding kick goal. And then Bastoni got an assist to Thuram. So all 3 of Inter center backs were in the attack at all times, like they always are. And Thuram is just continuing to do Marcus Thuram things. And he is really, really turning it on this season. And who knows, if he keeps this up, he might be a $110 million price tag on his head.
I mean, the biggest thing for me this game was no DeMarco, not even as a sub, no Dumfries, not even as a sub, and no Khan, not even as a sub. Actually, did Lautaro even get minutes? Lautaro? No,
Correa. They were
Lautaro.
playing.
So,
Dude, Correa.
I was just going to say Correa had a game. He had a fucking game. I mean, love to see that from Correa, especially being shipped off last season. Probably a little bit of a chip on his shoulder there. But again, I mean, love to see that Inter can come into a game like this, playing against a very much lesser opponent, play, maybe we'll call it the B lineup. Obviously, a couple of stars here and there. It's almost impossible to slide out your entire starting lineup. But promising for them going forward, especially playing in how many competitions that they will be playing in, that they can swap out guys like this against a bottom 5 team and still have success. 5-0 is nothing to bat an eye at. I mean, usually this is a 2-0 game or 3-1, whatever it may be, but 5-0 is a big statement even against a bad team, especially with not 3-4 of your non-starters not playing a single minute.
Yeah, we had dogged on Inzaghi for that earlier in the year too. So happy to see it. Happy to see them get the result. Moving on though, two of my favorite teams this year. Atalanta went to Parma. Atalanta did what they've been doing all year. Conceded some goals, but scored more goals than the opposition. Atalanta won this one 3-1. There were some interesting notes, Motts, that you had here from this game.
Yeah, well, the first one would be insane comeback from Scalvini. Played this game, got subbed on 5 months ago towards ACL. I will be the first to say it. I don't love that from Scalvini and Atalanta pushing him back that quickly. I think I said it earlier in the podcast or earlier in this one of the episodes that I think players should go to the USA to rehab because it happens so much often. The doctors are so used to seeing it. I don't think anyone in the USA has done it in 5 months. I don't know what Italy has up their sleeve, why they think they can have him 5 months. It also would hurt the national team. But I will say Atalanta do need a center back. Like, that is clearly what they're missing, and I think that's why they're trying to force him on. And then real quick before I let you go, Vos, Gasperini got a red card and will miss the next 2 games against Roma and Milan, which I do think could play a factor. That is a big gap that they're going to have to fill with their manager missing.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree on both points.
I didn't see these. Was it a straight red?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to disagree on both points because on the Scalvini thing, I agree in that he shouldn't be playing yet. But at the same time, Atalanta's defense over the last couple of games has gotten very good. And they've been very good defensively in Europe, especially in Kusunu. And that's directly correlated to Kusunu now playing every game and Hien being the center back every game. And then they're roaching out the left center back, whether it be Jim City, Kalashniak has actually been very good out there. So yes, Scalvini is the best would be the best out of everybody here. But I don't know why you are rushing him back in when the defense has been very good over the last couple of weeks. And you are one of the best teams in Europe defensively. Like,
yeah,
in Serie A, you've been good enough. Like, you don't need to throw this guy in here. Right? Give him the time off.
Disagree. Their defense has been better, but this Atalanta we're talking about, like this, they go on streaks where they're going to have good defensive games, and then they're going to go on a streak where they let 2 goals in a game. Like, that's what they were doing in the beginning of the season. So I think that they know that, and they're like, we need to get him back in. But you are right. They are in form defensively right now. They have only allowed 1 goal in Europe. Ever since their slow start, they've been allowing 1 or clean sheets. So you were right in that it's trending in the right direction. But I think we all know from watching Calcio for the years that we have, they are very streaky. They're like, they can.
No, that is true. That is true. But at this point, I think they're in one of those hot streaks, and I would say they're the best team in the league right now, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Fiorentina,
that would be my only other argument.
Lazio, or Atalanta. Yeah.
I think they're better than both. I do.
They could be.
And I really like both of those teams.
We'll see. You also don't think that Gasperini being off the pitch is going to really matter much against Roma and Milan?
Yeah, I don't. That was the other piece that we need to discuss. He's been there so long, and everybody that's around him has been there so long. And most of this team has been there long enough where they're just going to go out there and do their thing, whether or not Gasperini's there. I'm not really worried about it. Are you? You are?
I don't know if most of their team has been there for that long, but I think that the most important people are able to step in and be like, listen, guys. I mean, Darun might as well be the assistant coach on the field
Yeah,
at this point.
exactly.
So
I just think, listen,
don't so disagree with
takes
that.
it takes an experienced guy to read a game, be able to make the right subs at the right time, to not throw too many guys forward, to say the right things to the specific players. That, I mean, it's Gasperini does it obviously for a reason. He's the head coach for a reason. When you sub in not a head coach, he's not head coach for a reason. So you never know. Some things could go wrong. I mean, and I would say, like, obviously Roma and Milan are in little ruts, but they are big teams still. Like, those aren't walk in the parks with the caliber players that they have on the pitch.
For sure.
Well, I would also just say, specifically for those two games, Roma, brand new coach, Ranieri might be making huge adjustments going into the next game. And then Milan, you have no idea what you're getting game in, game out. So you have to prepare all week long for something, and then come game day, it's a completely different play style. So I would just be cautious if I'm Atalanta to just think that this is, like Motts just said, a walk in the park, because both these teams can be absolutely different from what you're game planning for.
Other side of this game was Parma. For me, your newly promoted team, Atalanta's maybe the best team in the league right now. I'm not reading anything into this. Like, they're a hard team to play against.
Yeah, Atalanta is a tough team to beat. The one thing I'll say, and then we'll move on, is I don't understand why Parma was home and Atalanta was wearing yellow. It didn't make. I thought for a second like Parma was yellow, and so I was just confused there.
It was a weird kick combo. I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Good point, Mons. I agree. Cagliari went to Genoa to play Patrick Vieira's new team. This game was a 2-2 draw. Very on brand for Cagliari. Better result for Genoa, I think. I think they'll take the draw here for the first game. Cagliari has been a pretty tricky team for almost every team in the league to play against. So I think this is a good result. And I think something to pull out from this, from a Cagliari perspective, is that they're actually scoring more goals than I had anticipated. They're in a lot of games, and they've been in a couple shootouts where they've either gotten a draw in it or gotten a win in it, and I did not expect that this entire season.
Agreed.
Yeah, I was going to say, just really quick, I mean, I think it's also a promising sign from the Genoa side that Vieira comes in and they're able to score at least more than one goal. Because typically, I think Genoa's had a tough time scoring goals this season, especially with the guys that have left the team. So good to Vieira to come in and be like, all right, this is how we're gonna put goals away, even against a mid-table team like Cagliari.
Logs, you can read the next one because this is two of your favorite teams.
Gomar and the little lads of the league. 2-0 Fiorentina, a good win for Fiorentina. Yassine Adli, the boy who loves Florence now, and Moise Kean, who just need to get out of the spotlight, both putting goals away. I really don't think Como played that bad in this game. I really don't. Fiorentina probably could have scored a couple more goals, which is something to be said. I don't think, from my perspective, it's a little bit more the same from Fiorentina. We expected them to win this game. Those, when we talked about it last week, it clearly changed your mind on this game. You made it your Colby pick. Great value, plus 130. I mean, that was you thought it was going to happen. But I just want to keep talking about one guy in particular, Nico Paz. If there's a bright spot in the league about young talent on teams that people are not paying attention to, Nico Paz is a young talent that people need to pay attention to. I mean, just that one, I mean, how old is he? 18, 17, 18, 19, whatever it is, still teenager. That turn in the middle of the field, two guys getting on him, that was clean. This guy is a talent. Great pickup by Como to get a guy that is up and coming and can grow him. But more of the same from Fiorentina. Love to see it from Laviola. And I really do hope they keep this trend going.
I'll say one thing really quick from Fiorentina. They've impressed me. I knew Palladino was always good, right? He took a Monza side that probably should have been relegated and kept them up 2 years in a row. And not only kept them up, but like had them finish middle of the table and had them playing great soccer for the calibers that they had. So really just an all-around great coach. Fiorentina got it was a very good move by them. And they're obviously firing on all cylinders. One of the hottest teams in the league. People forget Gudmundsson is not playing. Like, they still have one guy who is a proven goal scorer in this league, was on the Serie A Team of the Year last year, ready to come back. Imagine what happens when he comes back. Like, they could just get even better. They got Inter next week. in Rome or in Florence, obviously not in Rome, in Florence, that if they can go get 3 points there, Fiorentina is going to be a scary team this season.
I feel good about Fiorentina in that game. And to your point, Logan, about how Como played in this, I thought Como played really well. They probably should have scored one. David De Gea made a really good save. And Adley's goal definitely should have been saved, although they did create a number of other chances, and I think they deserved to win. But they had way less of the ball in this game, and they were comfortable in that. And what I really like about that is you can win in different ways. They played extremely counterattacking in this game. In other games, we've seen them play more expansive, possessive team. And that is really exciting. And for Palladino to already be doing that with this team is pretty insane. What we see, what other teams are struggled with, and maybe these other high caliber managers, it's when he has the ball, it's potent offense. And then without the ball, it's organized defense and fluid counterattacking that Fonseca wants to do. And he can't do it at Milan. And Motts is struggling to do it at Juventus. And he's doing both of those things against every team that they are playing. And it's amazing to watch. And I think what is a little bit different about Fiorentina when we compare them to a lot of other teams and why this works is in every position, they have a guy that's capable of scoring. And it's really weird because it's Gozens as the left back and Dodo as the right back, who are both really good defensively, but also so effective in the final third. And then in the midfield, it's Beltran right now instead of Gudmundsson, who was originally a striker when he got there. Now he's playing as a 10. Yassine Adli is playing. We got Bove playing, who at Roma was like a get into the box last guy and then finish a move off. We have Jonathan Akone. We have Moise Keane. You go through the team, it's everybody is dangerous when they have the ball. And not a lot of teams can say that to this degree. And I think that is another reason why they're having so much success. In David De Gea in this new era of himself is massive for them. He has stolen a couple games, and you need that to make big runs in the league.
Yeah, I don't think it should be understated how they're able to adapt to their play style game to game, especially given the fact that when you look at this roster and you look at even just the starting lineup, how many players were there last year starting in this game? 3? Maybe 4? We talked about consistency being the name of the game at the beginning of the season. Fiorentina has no consistency season over season, but they're playing phenomenally. And the fact that Palladino is able to get this squad to be a ball-dominant team, be possession-heavy one game, and then be able to play on the counter and just sit back and play defense while the other team fucks around with it and not be antsy about it, to be composed and be ready to be on the counter and not just dive in and try to get the ball back immediately. I mean, that just can't be understated, and flowers to Palladino for that. I mean, this team is just playing on another level.
Keeping it rolling. Back to Turin. Monza played Torino, played it to a 1-1 stalemate. Torino is in trouble right now. They've really fallen off a cliff since the Duvan Zapata injury. We kind of knew it was coming, and it is continuing to go. For Monza, away from home, these are the kind of results you need to just kind of drag out if you're going to stay out. They're still in trouble down there. They're 19th place on 9 points. So it's still danger. Not looking great yet, right?
No bueno.
No bueno. Keeping it rolling. Bologna went to Lazio. Lazio won this one 3-0. I didn't expect it 3-0 when what I need to caveat this with is all 3 of Lazio's goals came after a red card. And it was one of the worst red cards I've ever seen. Tommaso Pobega picked up a yellow card. Then 5 minutes later, pressing in the opponent's box, fly tackled Ravella, or no, it was Guendouzi, just straight through his back. He had no chance of winning the ball. I don't know why he did it. It was one of the worst red cards ever. So for Lazio, another game where they just get the job done. I don't think Bologna can really take much out of this. But Lazio is rolling, and I do want to take the 1 second to just say, I literally think the 3 best teams in the league right now are Lazio, Fiorentina, Atalanta. And I think they can all beat each other, and I think they can all beat the rest of the table, which is insane to me.
Yeah, and then you can't forget Inter's still Inter. Juve haven't lost a game this season. And then there's Napoli, right, with Conte.
And Napoli's top of the table.
1 game of the week. So it's an amazing top 6. We're in for a great season. But just another team that I'll put my hand up, I was dead wrong on. They had a terrible, in my opinion, offseason with Latito not doing anything. But he got one thing right, and that was the manager. This guy is a very good coach.
Very good coach. This is a very good team.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very good. Lois, you got anything? Or we gotta keep it rolling, right? Yeah, we'll keep it rolling. Udinese went to Empoli, 1-1 tie. I would have liked Empoli to go and win this one. They couldn't quite do it. They did have a 1-0 lead. I thought with a 1-0 lead, this game was over. Like Empoli at home, no way they concede to Udinese. For Udinese, they needed something. They have been very bad since the beginning of the season, so this is a good one for them. But Empoli, I think, need to kind of have a reality check of where they are, and maybe we needed this as well. They had kind of transitioned to a more expansive team, trying to go get games. Maybe it's time to be a little bit more defensive again. I don't know.
My only take from this game is, I think the lock of the season, it used to be Napoli -1.5 during the Scudetto. Vos thought it was maybe -1.5 Atalanta this season, which is still to be seen. I really do think that the lock of the season every single week, week in and week out, is Empoli double chance. So for the Paisans out there on the books, Empoli double chance, look for it.
Good one. And then Logue's least favorite game of the week, Lecce at Venezia. Devastating defeat for Venezia, I have to say. And I am officially done defending them. I have been defending them week in and week out, saying they're a hard team to play at home. They just lost to Lecce at home, and they are no longer a defensible team, and they are going to get relegated.
Well, so to your first point, obviously this was Logan's least, please do not watch game, although it ended up being a much better game to watch than Juve Milan. And where I do agree with you that it's starting to get hard to defend Venezia, because I think I've been on the same side as you defending Venezia, because they do play good soccer and they are tough to beat at home. They got very, very unlucky that they lost this game. They dominated. They had 16 total shots, 6 shots on target. The 16, I don't know how they didn't get more on target. 12 of them were in the 18-yard line. They definitely deserved a point. Very frustrating for them that they didn't. But yeah, it's getting hard to defend them. And I mean, Lecce is still going to get relegated. So
I didn't actually watch this game because I said I wasn't, but I was also way too nervous to watch it given the Colpi implications. But I'm just checking the stats now.
Oh, Venezia fucked them.
Venezia had 2.73 XG.
I know, that's right.
Yeah, they're Venezia mashed them.
Ridiculous. Falcone on Lecce had the player of the game at 8.2 rating. 2.73 XG is off the charts.
That's what I see.
To not score,
get 0 goals. That is the clue how that works.
That is horrendous finishing to have 0 goals on 273 XG. But this is what happened last time they went down. They were good when they went down. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago now. They played very well. They just never got results. And I don't know why. And it's starting to look like it's going to be that again. But that wraps up match week 13. Again, we had European competitions this week. We had some games today. We have a couple more tomorrow and then throughout the rest of the week. So the games that happened today, we had Champions League. Logue had some issues with some betting today, which we can talk about in a little bit. But from a Serie A perspective, the games that happened, Milan went to, I'm going to botch this, Slovan Bratislava. They won this game 3-2. Not overly convincing. They were up 1-0. They then conceded. Then they scored 2, were up 3-1, then conceded again. So at the end of the day, you get the result. But against a lower team that a lot of people aren't going to recognize, you would like to see a more convincing victory. But again, what we've seen from Fonseca is against the lower level teams, you're not going to do as well.
At least they got the win, right?
Yeah.
They got the 3 points. What I will say about this game is I think the first goal, you can't be giving that up. It was 3 minutes after Pulisic put in the first one. Can't be having that. Before I go to the next point, it's these the Eastern European teams. If you go there, you're gonna have a bad time. It's just simply a hard place to play no matter where you go. Fans are crazy. We'll give them that. Bratislava's second goal is an absolute fucking banger. To be fair, on the counter, should we have been better prepared? Sure. Tomori had pretty good positioning. It just so happened that this goal was literally the best shot maybe I've ever seen out of an Eastern European team of this level. So in my mind, 3-1 was the score. I don't know why. I mean, I do actually take that back. I know why Leao's not starting this game. It's against somebody you should be beating 9-0, but we got the dub. We got the 3 points. Let's ride out the momentum if there is any. I don't know.
Keeping it rolling. Inter Milan hosted RB Leipzig, who were a very tricky game earlier in the season against Juventus. They won this one 1-0. And what I do want to talk about here is Inter Milan in the Champions League and Inter Milan in Serie A have been completely different teams. Inter is the number 1 team in Europe right now when you look at Champions League standings, +7 goal differential. In all the games that they have been playing in. I don't think they conceded a goal yet, actually, now that I'm talking about
No,
it.
I think they conceded one, right? Atalanta was the one that didn't, and now they conceded a goal.
Yeah, so I mean, that's what we haven't seen in Serie A. We've seen them be lackadaisical, not close out games. And in Europe, for the most part, we've seen 0-0 draws against the really important teams, 1-0 win, 2-0 win. They blew the socks off with somebody at home, like it was a random team. But Inzaghi, he can make a run. We haven't been convinced by them a lot, but they are getting better. And in Europe, you can't knock anything they've been doing.
Also, stat correction, you were correct. I was wrong. They have not conceded a goal in the Champions League at 0-7 goals for. But yeah, I mean, listen, Inter, the only reason why Inter are not top of the table right now is because for some reason we don't understand why they have multiple lapses in concentration in the 80th minute to allow them to drop points and tie games. Maybe Inzaghi is really drilling into his players like this year is our year to win the Champions League. They have the lineup to do it. They have the depth to do it. And now they are never losing the concentration. They're not scoring as many goals as they were last year, but they're being that stout defensive team that they were last year, because people forget last year they had the best defense in the top five European leagues. They allowed like 20 goals total. And so we're seeing that, and yeah, they can easily go and win this not easily, obviously, because it's a tough tournament, but they have the talent to win the Champions League this year for sure.
Keeping it rolling to another team, second best defensive record in the Champions League, had not conceded a goal until today, and that's in Atalanta. They went to Young Boys and won the game 6-1. And Motts, you pulled out CDK in this one.
Yeah, this was your guys' old boy. This is the CDK show. There were 5 goals at halftime, and CDK had a foot in every single goal. He scored 2 himself. He got 3 assists. You guys sacked Maldini last year because he spent too much money on him. Who knows? Sometimes a player just needs a little bit longer than a year to get adjusted to the culture, the system, things like that, because he balled last year. He's playing better this year. I mean, I get it. It was Young Boys, but he's playing well this year. He's gotten multiple goals, multiple assists. Him and Lookman are flying high as they're those 2 up front, and then Retegi's just knocking in. If you cross it to Retegi, he buries it every fucking time. It's just put a ball into Retegi. Atalanta look good. They can score. Give it to Lookman. He can beat a guy one-on-one. Give it to Bellanova. He can cross it into Retegi. CDK can snipe it with his left foot. He can cross it to Retegi. They can score any which way they want, this Atalanta team. As you mentioned, Vos, they're starting to defend, and they have the individual quality that a lot of teams lack, per se. They have it in CDK, Lookman, and Retegi up top.
Not even talking about Samardzic, too, who's like kind of a role player still.
Can we stop on CDK for a second? Just to reminisce. CDK, as an AC Milan player, played in 2 positions. One, he played at the cam, which kind of didn't really exist. We didn't really know what a cam was supposed to do. It was very much free roam. You kind of had to make your own position out of it. Wasn't made for a player coming in from the Belgian league, still really young, 19, 20 years old, kind of like a Big Bird style player, like a baby deer. Not the position. Then he was playing on the right side, which is, I think, where his best spot is. But for a right mid, right wing under Pioli, you might as well have not been on the pitch. On top of that, was playing next to Brahim Diaz, who apparently for Real is the fucking next coming of Jesus, but for AC Milan was absolute kind of garbage. So, Motts, you're 100% right. When you put him in a goddamn system where he's allowed to flourish and he has the right players around him, this guy is an absolute talent. He's 6'4". He's got great ball skills. He's an absolute sniper from outside the box. I do not know how we fucked it up, but I'm glad that somebody picked him up and was able to turn him into a talent.
But
That's
I
all.
didn't say, like, yeah, sure, he didn't have the best season on Milan, but he showed flashes of what he has the potential to do. So what you need to do as a front office, as a coaching staff, is you need to be able to see that and say, okay, this is what we got. This is who we invested in. How can we put him in the best position? How can we build around him? How can we make this team or help him? How can we help him succeed? And Milan did not do that at all.
Yeah, but even you're 100% correct. We can talk about this another time, but we never should have sacked Maldini. I was never for sacking Maldini. I thought that was a horrible decision, but it ended up happening. That was his downfall. The CDK had a shit season. I don't think the rest of Milan had a great season, but that's just how the cookie crumbles.
I would say that regardless of even if they knew that CDK was going to be this good, if you look at it with who they wanted to bring in as the manager and who the manager was when they did get him, which we can say like, oh, he was there, blah, blah, blah. There wasn't a place in the team for CDK under Pioli and how he wanted to play. And there isn't a place for CDK in the team with how Fonseca wants to play. Very simply. CDK's best position is very clearly as a second striker, which what we're seeing in Atalanta, where he can kind of play on the farthest line of the defense, but has freedom still. With a Cam under him to be, it is weird. He is definitely a luxury player, and you need a team that he fits. So I don't think that the sale was wrong. Because even if you had him right now, like, what would you do with him? Like, yes,
it was at the end of the day. At the end of the day, the sale is wrong because if Atalanta sell him, they're selling him for 50.
That's true.
Million and they
the
bought him.
price is wrong.
He's not 50 mil playing for AC Milan.
He's not. No, he's
Period.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But also, we do have to take into account, and I've said it before, you're kind of seeing a little bit with Juventus and Coop Miners. Gasperini just knows how to make a player good. It's his system. They're so attacking in a Gasperini system. Like, you're going to just have the statistics because he's like, we are going to score goals. Like, we're going to always push, rather than have wasted possession. Now, I think that Coop Miners is still figuring out. He looks great, but like, obviously last year, Coop Miners would have had probably 4 goals on Atalanta by now. So it is the Gasperini system.
It is. It definitely is. The other Champions League game, it's happening tomorrow, probably when you guys are listening to this. Juventus is going to Aston Villa. I'm really scared for Juventus in this one. I think they're going to get their shit kicked in, honestly.
I think we'll play for a tie. We also, the fix is in. We got stuck in Birmingham due to passports. We were stuck in the airport, the Juventus players, for extra long bullshit. But yeah, they submitted the squad list, 14 guys. We're back to pre-COVID substitutes, only have 3 subs. I can pretty much guarantee that Mott is going to set up his players the exact same way he did against Milan and just say, let's go get a tie. And Villa has the offensive firepower a little bit more than Milan and probably will score a goal. And I don't think Juventus will be able to do that because we don't have a striker.
Douglas Luiz fit or no?
He's not playing, no.
Tough.
Douglas Luiz
would
literally have shit in his pants the second he walked on the pitch, even if he was fit.
The second he walked on the pitch, bro, the second down in Birmingham.
He is so out of form that even if he was available, I wouldn't play him in this game because of what it could do to his psychological well-being. Like, if he goes back to Villa and plays bad and Juventus lose, he might be dead as a player for Juventus.
Listen, I just
said that he's going back to Villa in January.
He's not. I just got done saying it with CDK. Sometimes players need little.
I agree.
It's not just let me go take a guy from England, put him in Italy, move his home. Has to make new friends, needs a new coffee shop.
Girlfriend,
little things like that. Yes, we brought his girlfriend, but still, like, it's little things like that like a human being needs to get accustomed to. And then you have the other aspect of it, of the soccer, where it's like, all right, I have to now learn a new system, new position, blah, blah, blah. So listen, he should go nowhere. I know Juventus has a plethora of midfielders because Giuntoli bought every single one that was on the market. But he should go nowhere. Give him some time. He will be fine.
I agree. The other game going on, Lille is going to Bologna. There's another one where Bologna is not going to win, in my opinion. Lille is very good, and Bologna has been terrible in Europe. And on top of that, they are still without their two best players in Indoy and Ferguson.
Grover and Jonathan David will overtake them.
Yeah, that's going to be too much. The other games going on this week, no idea where this team is from. Ludo Goretz, I think it's pronounced. They're going to Rome to play Lazio. I'm going to continue to back Lazio to win pretty much every game they play. I don't think there's anybody they can't beat. And Roma is going to London to play Tottenham Hotspur no, this is not the Packy Derby. I thought it might be. But Tottenham is in very good form, and they are going to beat the shit out of Roma. That's it. The other one in the Conference League, we got Fiorentina playing another team from Cyprus. They're hosting Paphos. And again, Fiorentina is going to rotate the squad, and they're still going to win this one.
And again, who the fuck are these teams in this Conference League? Every single time it's a team I've never heard of.
Yeah, I mean, Fiorentina should right now be
Chelsea
looking to win.
Fiorentina final. If it's not that,
definitely.
I don't know how. There's a major debacle between one of those two teams.
Fiorentina is better than Chelsea.
That's gonna be a great final. That's gonna be a great final.
That's gonna be a great final.
I also think Fiorentina, not to talk about this overly, Fiorentina should think they're going to win the Scudetto, right? Like they're good enough. And I think the same should be said about Lazio and Atalanta. They should be thinking every day we can win the Scudetto.
It's a lot. Scudetto's a marathon. It's a lot. I mean, if you get 3 points at Inter, I think so. I think, like, obviously their goal from the start of the season was top 4 probably. And now that they're in the horse race, I think it's like, listen, guys, let's look around us. Look where we are. Look where everybody else is. There's no reason why we can't be there at the end, right? So I think that Palladino, his mindset should be telling his guys, like, let's go win it. But hey, if Fiorentina do stumble like we have seen in the past, I don't think that it's going to be like, oh my goodness, Fiorentina they're still overachieving, right? If they stumble and they go to 6th or 5th. So, but I agree.
It's a perfect transition because this wraps up Europe, brings us to match week 14, which we do want to talk about. And the big game to highlight, this is going to be an awesome game, is Inter in Florence at Fiorentina. So this is kind of the crux of this conversation right now is Fiorentina the real deal, right? Like this is really that tense, especially at home, where you maybe have a little bit of an edge to go and get the win.
That's going to be the most interesting aspect for me personally, is to see how Palladino and Fiorentina approach this game at home. I think normally a Fiorentina squad would probably say a draw against one of those big 4 clubs or 3, Inter Roma or Inter Juventus and Milan, would be a success for their season normally. However, the way that they're playing now, they've won like 7 in a row, 6 in a row. They beat teams up. Inter sometimes have a lapse of concentration like we talked about. There's no reason why Palladino's not like, let's go get this win. And if we do win, look where we are now. We're now 2nd, depending on how Napoli does. We could be 1st in the Scudetto race. And it also goes a long way to send a message like this, hey, this isn't us beating up on the lower level teams as the smaller teams. We are here to play the big teams. So it'll be really interesting to see how they approach it, if they do kind of what they did against Como, sit back and counterattack. But it'll just be interesting to see how Palladino, if he goes for a draw or if he's going for all 3 points.
Well, just to show like how close this game is, Inter Milan, 8 wins, 4 draws, 1 loss, 17 goal differential, 28 points. Fiorentina, 8 wins, 4 draws, 1 loss, 17 goal differential, 28 points.
Wow,
exactly the same.
This game is extremely fascinating to me because you look at the wingbacks, even though the Fiorentina's play wingbacks per se, but Gozens and Dodo, the way that they're playing, kind of neutralize, I think,
everybody.
Best players at this point. I mean, obviously DeMarco and Dumfries are phenomenal, but I really do think that the way that that Gozens and Dodo are playing, that's kind of like an even matchup, right? Then you look at Moise Kean, who's fucking in form out of his mind. I'm very interested to see where he ends up picking his spots in terms of being a lone striker against a 3-back. I don't know what his plan is or where he decides to end up. This is going to be a problem for Fiorentina's midfield. Yassin Adli is not made to play against Inter's midfield. I don't think that Kolpani is going to slot in and be able to overwhelm anybody from a defensive standpoint on Inter's side. So I do think that where the breakdown here is going to be Florence's midfield, Fiorentina's midfield. But they are playing in Florence. And so they're playing it. It's a noon game for us, which means it's 6 o'clock in Florence. That's going to be a sunset match. The La Viola is going to be fucking firing. Like the people are going to be getting after it. This is going to be a fun game, but I really do think it comes down to the midfield and seeing how informed this team is going to continue on form and not just on talent level versus Inter, who has the talent and maybe not the form right now.
Yeah, but at the same time, Fiorentina have already beat Milan this year. They beat Lazio this year. Who else? They've beaten a lot of good teams. Like they've already shown that they can go get these games, and they're playing now better than they have in any game. And I just feel good about them to go and get this done, especially with what we've seen from Inter in the league with the inconsistencies. And Fiorentina are maybe the most dangerous offense right now outside of Atalanta even. And Inter are prone to conceding.
I just think the biggest difference is that 3-back for Keane. Obviously, Keane is their top goal scorer, and I think that this is a 2-back is very different than a 3-back when obviously as you're the striker. So I do think that that's going to be the biggest difference in terms of Fiorentina trying to score goals. It could easily be a 0-0 draw. I wouldn't be surprised.
Do you guys think Inzaghi parks the bus or no?
No, not necessarily. But I think that Fiorentina has been playing so well on the defensive end as well as, don't get me wrong, they're scoring a fuck ton of goals, but they're not giving up a ton, right? So they could easily shut down Lautaro and Thuram, although when I'm saying that out loud, that's a tall order. That's a really tall order.
It's going to be tough to see. It'll definitely be a heavyweight matchup because we've seen both these teams can win both ways, right? Inter can sit in a shell and counterattack, or they can possess and win, and same with Fiorentina. So it's really going to be who kind of flinches first and how do each team set up.
Interesting one for Inzaghi, too, because he's not hot seat, but question marks around how long he can be, or if he is a great coach, and Palladino now, next guy kind of thing, right? So a lot of storylines there. Keep it rolling. Verona going to Sardinia to play Cagliari. This is one I would love to see Cagliari get a win, continue to extend that lead out of the relegation zone. I don't feel good about Verona getting points in this one. No comments, great. Monza are going to the Lake to play Como. This is one Como absolutely have to win.
Let's go, little lads by the Lake. Get 3 points.
Let's go, little lads, babe.
This is 18 versus 19. So win here is really, really important for both of these teams. And I don't think Monza can get it done. So Como, it would be a massive one to kind of bring you out of there probably. Keep it rolling. Empoli is going to Milan. This is another one. I don't really see Milan getting it done here. Empoli are going to sit in that shell, and I have not seen from Fonseca that he can figure out that puzzle. This is going to be a
draw.
Yeah, draw all the way.
Draw.
Some pride in the Milan fans over there.
No, I'm no longer. I don't loop myself in there. Remember that. Venezia going to Bologna. I still like the way Bologna have been playing. In Venezia, I am no longer defending, so Bologna's going to win that one. Should be a good game, though. Maybe Castro can get a goal. Keep rolling. Genoa going to Udinese. Another difficult task for Vieira here in the second game. I do think Udinese is a team they can go and get a few against. I think this is actually going to be a really good game. I think it's probably going to be like a 2-1 or 2-2 kind of thing. So that should be an interesting one. Lazio going to Parma, always a difficult game at Parma. I still think with how good Lazio have been, they'll edge this one, but Parma's always a scary goal threat, and you have to be aware of that. This one, another difficult one for Baroni. He's met every challenge, though, so far.
This would be a great game. If you're around, watch this game. Good 2 counterattacking teams, both high scoring. This would be a fun one to watch.
3-1 Lazio.
Yeah, 3-1 Lazio. In Turin, we got Napoli going to Torino. Torino are not good. They really
Napoli's
flipped
got
the script.
some-
Yeah, this is a Napoli
That's
one. This is a Napoli extend the lead kind of game, unfortunately. Juventus going to Lecce. Lecce apparently good. Juventus apparently bad. So maybe Lecce win this one.
You're
Lecce's
bugging.
good. Said Lecce beat Verona or Venezia. We're not going out here and saying
Lecce is rolling, dude. Lecce is rolling. I might start defending them next.
Juventus haven't lost a game this season. They're not going to start to Lecce. They might draw, but they're definitely not going to lose.
it's the first game you're gonna not bet $100.
I told the Paisanos this would be $100 to win $45, and so then I'll hit that one, and then and then I'll lose the next one, so then I'm down. It doesn't make sense. I got to stop.
All right, Motts has got to stop. And then one game, two heavyweight teams. We didn't highlight this one because it's Atalanta at Roma. So it's in Rome.
Is it two heavyweight teams?
That is exactly. That's the question. Is it two heavyweight teams? We've been talking about Roma being like this marquee matchup everybody's got to play against. And I think now we're finally walking that back, this is a team that the new top 6 or top 7 of this season is going to bully for the most part. And I don't see this going another way. Atalanta are going to beat their shit in.
I am waiting for the day of Roma to turn their season around, and so that way this would be a two heavyweight matchup. But till then, we won't be highlighting it because we've beaten a dead horse with this squad, and nothing has changed every single week. So till then, Roma have to fight relegation.
That's the thing with Roma. We've been fighting results by being like, oh no, but they have the talent, they have the roster, and they're the manager. But we've been just fighting results. The results suck. They stink. So we're not going to talk about them anymore.
Yeah, and that wraps up 14, match week 14, which does bring us to our last and favorite segment. It's been a long episode. Again, we're on one a week right now, so we got to get straight into it.
Colpi di luna.
Colpi
di luna.
So the unfortunate thing, the unfortunate thing, Uncle Hot Win, is we can only go downhill from here. We hit all 3 legs last week. Motts is getting hot now.
I hit 3 in a row.
Not on Juve bets, but is getting hot elsewhere. So
I hit 3 in a row on over-unders.
All right, and then you can lead it off here because I'm assuming you got an over.
3 in a row on over-unders, so we're keeping with the hot hand. I'm just going to say quick, Lazio at Parma, I think it goes over 2.5. Lazio seem to score 3 goals every single game that they play. Parma seem to score at least 1 to 2. Nice counterattacking team. So I think it goes over. I think right now it's minus 152. Is that line right, Bose?
Yeah.
So 3 in a row, looking to make it 4 in a row, turning my Colpi season around.
Yes, sir. I was going to pull a Vos. I tried to be odds. They're locked right now, so somebody knows something about this game, so I'm not going to go draw Milan Empoli. The little lads of the lake, money line plus 405 is going to get it done this week. They looked good. They looked talented. They looked comfortable. They look like they need to get a run. I think they do. They're at home. Mons is garbage. Danny Malbini kind of sucks still. Still not. I said I was. Still not really in on him. The little lads get it done, plus 105, money line.
I like that one a lot. That's a really good one. And then mine, I have my maybe favorite team, Atalanta, money line at Roma. Ton of value there, plus 125. Again, I don't think everybody is adjusting for Roma is just bad this year yet. And I think that's why we're getting value. Last week, I had some value and people not recognizing that Fiorentina is just good. So now we're going to roll it into people not recognizing Roma is bad. But that brings the full Colpi to plus 664. Another fat one, and I do like all 3 legs again.
You guys know what to do with the Colpi. You bet it singly, you bet it parlayed, and you make some fucking dough.
2 in a row, baby. 2 in a row.
2 in a row.
We're going back to back.
That wraps it up for us, guys. We're going to be back here on Monday to talk what happened to match week 14. We're going to be talking match week 15. You know how it goes. We've been all over the map. Motts has been meeting people in New York. If you ever about, just Yell at him, say something funny to him, tell him about Juve, bet 100. Don't know what you're going to say to him. Say anything to him. We want you to get involved, being part of the community. Lugs, where can everybody follow us?
Paisans, for those of you in America, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the holiday. Say hi to the family when you're around the table. Tell them where to find Calcio Culture. Tell them where to get involved. You can find us on X, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok at Calcio Culture FC. And where you're listening right now, Apple Pods and Spotify. Big boy Motts, welcome back. Take us away.
Paisanos, if you're still with us, you guys are the truest fans because this is the Calcio Culture's longest episode ever. So we appreciate you guys listening. Do not be a Gagoots and Forza Calcio Culture.